Okay, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Gaelle Collas. I'm a programming teacher, but I'm also a business developer for educational companies in Europe. So I work with AI in my classes with my students, but also in a business setting to help these companies develop their services in their country and abroad. So I use AI in many different ways, and today I'm going to explain how I integrate it in class with my students in my young entrepreneurs classes. But I will also give you an overview of these tools and how they can be used for your own businesses. Consider that these tools are for a one person a business, and you can also apply them on other contexts. But the way I use them is for a one person business. It's to help students start developing their own business idea and taking actions. So even though they don't know how to do everything, then they have a support through AI, not only through technology in general, that can help them overcome certain technical needs. Okay, so the plan for today will be to see, first of all, how you can use different AI tools for young entrepreneurs, and how these tools work and what are their limits, and how we need to consider the ethical implication of using these tools when it comes to building a business. Now, I'll show it from my experience, from the time I've used it, and from my point of view in Europe. So I'm French and I live in Spain, so I mostly know how it works in these two countries. Now, please, if you want to apply it with your student, make sure you review what are the limits, the legal implication, the data privacy in your country. Okay. So we'll start with the different tools that can support students in their entrepreneurial projects. We will analyze some real world applications, so how I use it in my classes, and what worked and what didn't, and how to develop strategies in your company or with your student to integrate AI in educational projects and businesses. So about the tools, I want to tell you about one tool particularly that is really good for market research. I insist on really good because I've been looking for market research on different topics for the companies I work with, and it's quite hard, it's quite expensive, and you cannot really know the quality of the data that you'll get. So you with the companies I work with, these are small companies, familial. They don't have a high budget, and putting a high budget in market research for their niche would be a high investment that they are not always ready to do. But this information is very valuable. And I've been trying a tool made by a friend of mine, a French living in Spain too. And the tool is really good because it gives you an overview on a certain market with a very simple prompt. So I invite you to have a try. I will give you a coupon code to have a promotion on it for all the viewers of this conference. And it shows you market trends and generate business idea tailored on specific interest and skills. You could do it with a very good prompt on ChatGPT, on Perplexity, on Claude, but you might forget some part of it, especially if you're not very business oriented. if you're more like a teacher, actually you don't always think about all the ways and the vocabulary you should input into the prompt to make sure you have the best result. So these tools, contenders.ai, is really good. I invite you to have a look, to try it, and I'll show you also how it works. I'll show you what it did for me, and how it can help you with your business. So I really invite you to have a look. Also, always remember that all the tools we use in AI are trained on a certain database, have access to a certain part of the internet, and depending on where you are, what's the language you use, what's your market, they might not give you the best result. I've had a lot of trials and errors with um, trying to get competitors of the companies I work with. And the competitors I found were mostly in the US. While these are not real competitors, first of all, because they are not at the same level and they are not in the same market, they don't touch the same niche. So it was good to see, okay, this a type of company can be a competitor, but in reality it is not. It's not a real one, because all these LLM will work on a worldwide database and on mostly a US oriented database. So always be aware of that. I work with French people, and you might know that French people like to speak French, and they actually look for French tools. They always nag because the AI are not that good in French, because they don't get the information they want. And that's true. And that's also true in Spanish. Even though I can see that in Spanish we might have better result, we might have better answers, simply because I think we have more countries, Spanish speaking countries in the world and in America. So I'm quite sure the database trained on this data also have integrated Spanish speaking American, Latin America, from Latin America. So that's why. Now, for the French, this happens that you don't always get results, that accurate results. Let me give you an example. I'm a business developer for small educational companies, so organizers of school trip agencies, um, summer camps, and school excursion along the year in Europe, and small edtech companies or small edtech startups, plus after school centers, very local after school centers. So I've been trying to see who were my competitors, and some tools actually gave me McKinsey. So I'm glad I can consider myself at the same level at McKinsey, but it's not at all. Just because looking at the data, McKinsey was an educational consultant for schools and educational companies, but we're not at the same level at all. So it's not accurate to consider them in a market research as my competitors. Now, the second tool I want to talk to you about is Canva. Is Canva with AI. You can have access with an educational account to all these tools. If you have only a personal account, you might not have access to all the tools I'll show you today and I'll tell you about. So in Canva with AI, you can do many things, but you can transform a doc into a presentation. Obviously, all of that is not perfect yet, so don't expect it to be as good as what you might have in mind. I've given a training to teachers on these tools, and they were expecting a perfect tool that would do everything for them, and we're not there yet. I don't know if we will be at some point. Seeing how it goes, we can actually gain a lot of time thanks to AI tools, but this also means spending time learning them and learning their capacity and their limits too. So Canva is already an online software that's a web application that's really good and already offers us a lot of different possibilities that we had with graphic design before, mostly through Adobe, but not as complete, not as easy, not as user friendly, not as accessible everywhere from your iPad, your phone, your computer. So Canva by itself, I will only talk well about them because I'm a since the beginning I've been using it with my students and nobody knew about it at that time to now I'm just like very happy and completely convinced by Canva itself. So one tool I've been using it a lot is a translation of a PDF or documents. Like DeepL also offers you that option, but DeepL you have a certain limit and it can keep the format of your document, so you can translate PDFs and PowerPoints and keep the the design. So that's really good also with DeepL. It's a really good tool, but you can only do that. With Canva, this is part of it. You can translate your documents. Keeping the design doesn't always work. You still have, because of the text in different languages won't take the same space. You still have to go over each page and make sure it looks good. You can transform and resize it, so you can have the same design for your company, for Instagram, for Facebook, for TikTok, for you can do like a personal branding, like company branding on Canva and use it everywhere. Same for you as a teacher. It's really good because you can also create by blocks. All of that takes time to learn, takes time to master. But if it's something that you really do a lot, certain tasks like that, being able to automate them and use AI to do like a whole part that actually would take you a lot of time helps you a lot when you master it. But consider the time you spend. I do a lot of different things, and some of them I repeat a lot, some of them I don't. So for all the tasks I repeat a lot, I will look for automation. For all the tasks that I do only once, actually I spend less time doing it myself than using the tools. Okay, so you can also create images on Canva. I think for me, it's actually the easiest tool you can use with your students to create images. It's also very protected. So even words like child, when you want to create an image including a child, you might have the system telling you that that word is not acceptable, child or kid. Make sure that the prompt is clear enough that you're not asking for anything that wouldn't be acceptable. But then Canva is actually quite good for a first try with students to try out what they can do with AI. So it's quite nice to work on Canva to create design and use the image creation, image generation that is integrated in the apps. I'll show you how you can open them. Okay. So there are more, all the AI, the suite of AI magic tools, but I haven't tried them all. It looks like you can do quite a lot with all these tools, the magic tools. Take your time to consider that if you want to implement them, but if you work with graphic design for your company in your classes, it's a tool that you can share with them. As an educator, you can have your own educational account and you can create accounts for your students so they can share them what they do with you. You can have projects together, and that's like a really, really um, important and valuable feature to be able to share with your student in a safe space and to have access to it from anywhere. Okay. There are many more tools I would like to tell you about because there are hundreds, thousands of AI tools that for each specific task can be really nice to know and to use. Um, I could mention Framer to create a website in a matter of seconds. I could mention Gamma to create a presentation from a prompt. So there are so many different apps that you can use for different things and different objectives, and they have their limits and they have their price and all of that. So I'll just focus on one last one, which is the one that you all use. So it's ChatGPT. And I will not only talk about ChatGPT, but about LLMs in general, because it's a great tool. The free version works well for all of them as a help to brainstorm about your business. So I'll share with you some prompts that can be interesting to try out when it comes to creating your own business. And lately I've seen a post passing on LinkedIn talking about the sandwich AI, where you make your students work first on the topic on their own, and then they can use AI to improve or to try out their idea, and then to reflect on it without AI. So that would actually be the way I use it with my students. I don't let them go straight to ChatGPT and ask for, give me 10 ideas of business like that. No, I would first make them think about, okay, what are you good at? What would you like to work on? Why? How many hours? How many resources can you spend on your business? What are you looking for? What's the objective? And do you want to work on different businesses and canals at the same time? So all of these, we clear it up first with the students. I work on their vision, mission, values, everything that's important for them when it comes to thinking about a business. And then from that, we will develop their idea. We will talk about the reason why, the motivation they have behind, the illusions they might have about it, because most of the time they come up, I don't know for you, but students in Europe watch YouTube a lot, and they usually come up with, hey, this guy said I would earn so much in less than 10 days, or these things. And then we work a lot on the mindset also, and how certain skills and certain attitudes will bring more results. And so resilience, patience, effort, um, more than the last tool that will bring everyone. So observation of the market, observation of other competitors, seeing how they do it, seeing how they sell it. So there is a whole preparation we do together before they use AI. But I'll share with you some prompts that you can use at different moments. And one, as I told you before, there is a certain limit. So databases are trained on a certain type of data, so it might not apply to your market. And LLMs are a large language model. They are not a this will be very I don't want this to be badly taken, but they are not smart in the way that they don't have that critical eye on what they write. So it's always important to take that into consideration when you use an AI. There is a really great prompt I want to share with you that can help you come up with business ideas. for you or for your students. So I'll share that with you. Now, next level would be to learn how to create automation for your business. With my students, I don't get there yet because I want them first to like be able to do all the steps on their own, one by one, and see later on how they can what they can automate, what are they really like repeating. But because they're still learning what is a business, how it works, the time it takes, the effort, the result compared to the effort, where to put most of their work, because each business is different. So next step is actually to work on chatbots, on automation, on improving to scale. So that's not what I'm going to talk about here, but it's the next step that they can work on later on. Also, LLMs can be good to help you make a financial planning. So you can use these tools to work on modeling the revenues and the cost of your business. It can help you make research, especially perplexity, but always make sure you and your student double check the sources, make sure that you have that critical view on everything it produces. So about the points you should care about when you use AI with your students, I don't think that there is anything new in what I'm going to say. It's just like a reminder of how important it is to teach our students the limits of the technology they use, and for them to be aware of the the magical part of all of that, but also how they always need to keep a certain perspective and distance with the result. So I'll just tell you how I do it, and if this can help you in your classes. So in my case, I take the time to do AI literacy workshops with students and with teachers. With students, it's more informal because I give programming classes to my students. So in all the classes, at some point, the application, the use of AI might come, and I will integrate naturally the knowledge and the perspective, the mindset they should have when it comes to using them. Now, what I also do is I integrate these tools in when we do project-based learning, I make them work with AI tools. So I integrate some task, a guided task, and then tasks that they can do autonomously. The third part that's important to take in consideration and talk about and is the ethics and responsibility. So whenever I talk with my student about using AI to do their homework, to research information, to produce anything that has to do with school, but also with their business or their personal projects. The responsibility of, in the end, whatever the tool produces, you're the one using it, you're the one responsible for the output you give. So if there is anything wrong in there, it's your own responsibility. It's your name on it. It's not ChatGPT or Google. They might be wrong in what they give you, but you're the one who decides to use it. So this is where I have that talk with them. On the other hand, when it comes to business, there is also the proprietary implications, and in here we reviewed together the legal notice, the legal aspect of the tools we're using, and how it can be used in a commercial way or not. So the responsible AI usage in general. Also, I mentioned the data privacy with them, making sure that they remember that all these data that they are giving to a software, which can also be on social media, because they mostly forget that everything they put out there is not there anymore and can be reused, especially if they didn't check the settings of the apps they are using and didn't check what they agreed on. So we also, I took the time in a class to show them how long was where the settings of TikTok, WhatsApp, and Instagram, and show them that they needed dates to actually read it. So there are obviously certain part of it they don't know, and certain part of it they agreed on without being aware of. So we talk about it a lot with my students, and I advise them, that's what I do, to not share anything private in all the tools they use. So to be aware of the data they agree to integrate in the tool and the data they don't want. They don't want to be used later on. Then another thing I do with them is showing them how it is used professionally, and how other entrepreneurs use it, and where they don't use it. That's also interesting to see. And okay, so to summarize, you can use AI in all the steps of entrepreneurship, for the market analysis, the strategy development, the product development, the competitors analysis, the marketing and sales, and the operation itself. Now, this really depends on what type of business you do. Actually, here we talk more about digital business, and even though if you have a physical business, on the whole digital part of your business, or the whole physical that's created from digital, you can use these tools. Okay, so to conclude, I'm happy I can share that with you. I hope my experience can be useful for you, can be useful for your students. If at any point you need help, or you'd like to have more information on how I use it, or more details, more examples, you can reach out on LinkedIn. It will be, and I would be really happy to help you bring AI into your classroom, into your projects, and to help you develop your entrepreneurship projects or your business. So thank you for listening. Thank you if you stayed until the end. Um, if you want to have an introduction on LLM with your students in class, I have created hours, what I call hours of technology, like the hour of code, but hour of AI, where I explain how LLMs work, and you can go a bit deeper into the understanding of what's the technology behind. Always be aware that it's a technology that goes so fast that actually it's evolving every day. So everything we understand now might be different tomorrow, and it's all fine. But it's good to have that mindset when it comes to using it, learning about it, and teaching it. Anything you need, just reach out. I'd be happy to help. And if you're in Europe, if you pass by Barcelona or Paris, let me know, and would be nice to have a coffee around. Have a very nice day and see you online.